on YouTube. What's happening, everybody? Thank you for people hanging out. There's a load of people that are hanging on here for the last while. So we said we'd start slightly earlier, like by a minute earlier. Yeah, that's good home music. I don't know if it is good home music, but yeah, let me take this off for a sec. Nonetheless, somebody requested Irish music. Welcome to the Lockdown Learn. My name is Vic Barry, works as creative video director and editor. Let me just jump through the chat, then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing on this Lockdown Learn, where it's just basically it's an opportunity for you guys to kind of upskill, learn something new, or maybe not, just come hang out. Let's shoot a kind of a creative conversation. So let me jump all over the place here. So we fixed the chat on the main window there, so it looks a little bit better. And let me start blazing through these. Okay. So, Dan is in Texas, my favorite place in the world, by the way. Absolutely. I used to be a big New York fan and still am, but Texas, oh man, my heart is in Texas. It really is. And I was there last year. Dallas and Fort Worth in particular. Pecan Lodge, barbecue, done. All right. So Dan is in Texas. By the way, if you're just new or let us know where you are. I'm just kind of curious to know, because we had people from all around the world last night, and it's already looking to be similar setup. Tonight it's 8 p.m. my time, so for you guys it could be 3 p.m. It could be, I don't know, it could be other times, but it's evening time here in good old Green Ireland. Barry is in Baltimore in Maryland. Hey Barry, what's going on? Thank you for coming in. And Ben is there. Hey Ben, you were here last night. Thanks for dropping by, buddy. Barry's using Filmora 9, but I can learn from the techniques. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? What I'm doing for these examples, it's predominantly going to be Adobe Premiere, right? But I'm not necessarily concentrating on how to do it in Adobe Premiere. What I want to get going is the mindset of, so, you know, yesterday, we looked at kind of basic cuts, why you'd cut, where to cut, how to cut, and you know, while it was done in Adobe Premiere, you can still apply that theory to Filmora, Vegas, Final Cut, Windows Movie Maker, iMovie, whatever. So that's the kind of idea. So the tool I'm using is Adobe Premiere, but the idea and the context will work on anything. If it's specifically going to be for Adobe Premiere, I'll explain that. If I know where it lives in another program, I'll try and explain that as well. But you'll get the gist of it. That's the whole idea. You'll get the gist of it. Okay. Let me see. Montana. Chad's in Montana. Awesome. So some of the people that I recognize, they're new. Some people I recognize the names. Chad, I think you're kind of new. Maybe you've been on the channel before. I'm not sure. Eagle VP's in there. Thank you for coming back again. Eagle, you were here last night, as was Ben. Fires Photography's in there. Hey, Bob, what's going on? Wee Brunvan. What's up? I recognize that name. Okay. So what we're going to do on this Lockdown Learn is we're going to touch off the basics of audio. Music, number one, I guess, you know, how to use music as opposed to just going, oh, that kind of sounds cool, and then just crowbarring it into a scene. We're going to talk about audio levels and kind of what's important, and then I'm going to go off on a slight tangent, something slightly differently, how to organize your footage. I'm going to just put that into this towards the end of this video, maybe. It might be a separate stream altogether, but I'm kind of conscious of everybody's time. But I love hanging out with you guys, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come hang out with me. And that's what we're going to do. But once we kind of get this basic tutorial out of the way and how things work musically and audio levels and that kind of thing, then the next thing is we're just going to blow it open to a complete Q&A. So whether you have a specific question on what I'm talking about with audio and music and stuff, or you've got something else to do, creative video, anything like that, just throw it in there and we'll get into it. And you don't have to wait till we go, hey, there's a Q&A right now. You got to put in your questions to the box. Put in the questions anytime and I will scroll back up and we will go through all of those questions. All right. So feel free. And if it's related to audio and music in video, absolutely perfectly fine. If it's not, perfectly fine. We will get to those as well. So let us go with episode 2 of Lockdown Learn. right headphones on. So I'm kind of conscious, you guys, I'm down the bottom right of the screen. So this is Adobe Premiere, and I am going to take you guys through a couple of scenes here and kind of show you how music can add, and also that how music can completely and utterly destroy your hard work if it's not done right. So this is one of the rare days that we get in Ireland when it comes to sunshine. Sunshine is so rare here. This was like 2 years ago, I think. Anyway, giving you an idea, it's a very wide shot on the beach of me running across the screen, across the frame, followed by my two kids. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to show you the clip without any audio. There is zero audio. I'm just going to bring the level down here, because if you zoom into an audio track on Adobe Premiere, this line here, you can raise it or lower it. Anyway, I'm just gonna show you this. So there's me thundering along the beach, thunder, 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 followed by my son Cameron, and eventually followed by my youngest daughter, Mia, my only daughter, Mia. So it's a bit comedic, okay? It was from a video, you know, what do Irish people do when they see the sunshine? So it was a bit comedic, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit fun. So this is the piece of music that I put with it. Okay, so the idea with that piece of music is, number one, you've got the kind of that Hawaiian guitar. I know there's probably a technical name for that Hawaiian guitar. So you've got that in there, right? And that's one thing. So beach, bright-ish, sunny day, Hawaiian guitar, you know, that kind of Hawaiian teal blue. So that's setting the mood straight away. But then it's kind of got a little bit of a comedic undertone where it's kind of just plodding along like me plodding along on the beach. And that kind of gives that little bit of a light-hearted feel. You know what you're going to get, right? So simple. So that music came from Epidemic Sound. I'll give you guys a link to Epidemic Sound in a while. But let me delete this and give you another piece of music. So I've got other pieces of music here loaded into Premiere. Let's take a listen to this one. So again, like we did last night in the cut, once you're editing the music in Premiere, you can just zoom in and zoom out, plus and minus. And then if you use the I, that's going to be the starting point. And let's go with the O for the out point. So then if we drag in the music like this, just by clicking on the music wave, the sine wave, just drag it in. And now to give you an idea how this looks, and this is going to be loud, and this is a big problem for a lot of YouTubers, a lot of video creators, that the music isn't balanced. But I'm just going to leave it as loud right now so we can show you exactly what to do next. So as you can see, that scene has a totally different vibe. In fact, that music just sounds like it's crowbarred in there and doesn't work in the scene at all. Now, it is quite loud. So in Adobe Premiere, for example, you can drag your levels down here. Or keyboard shortcuts will really speed up your workflow. G is for audio gain in Premiere. It's not a shortcut in Resolve or somewhere else. You can set it to G or whatever. You can customize a lot of workflows and keyboard shortcuts. But I'm just going to press G here, and then we're going to adjust the gain by -12 is always a good way to start with music. And then we can see at the bottom here, that audio wave has dropped down. So we know it's a little bit lower. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the levels in a little bit more, but you can see exactly how the music can set the tone of what you're watching. And why is music important? Well, the old George Lucas thing is that, you know, sound and music is 50% of the picture. 100%. 100%, that 50% is 100%, right? And like, the thing is that you always want to try and get some kind of emotional reaction out of the audience. You want to connect with them in a way. Now, you don't, you know, I'm not talking about having them burst into tears. I'm not talking about them, you know, start crying with laughter. But you want to have something, and you could be saying the most poignant, up and at 'em speech in your life, and it could get a couple of people, you know, yeah, this is really good. But if you've got the right piece of music, not any piece of music, but the right piece of music underneath your video, then it elevates it up hugely, and you can get that emotional reaction. Now, to give you an example of that, I'm going to show you this really quickly. Just keep an eye on the program window there. So this is something that's a bit epic, as it were. This is a thing I climbed a mountain many moons ago when I went on the hell kick. Halfway through this hell kick, this was one of the first things that I did, and putting this together, it was very cinematic looking. We're out in the wilds of Kerry, which is the west of Ireland, so you'll see how the music works here. Right, so now to jump into this here, there's a couple of things that's going on. Number one, and if you're working with music, if at all possible, cut your video to the music. The music should direct the pace of the scene, right? So if we go back here, let me see. As we can hear on that kind of bell, dong, whatever it is, it's cutting to the next scene. And then on the next one, there we go on this one. And then here's the next one, and so on, right? So that's part one. So number one, it's a good editing exercise to have. It also means that the pacing of your video is completely directed by the music, and if it's the right music, then that really helps with the kind of the emotional overtone. Now, what works really in all of this, even if you forget all about this, this piece of music was kind of chosen because it built into this big, I think the technical term is crescendo. I could be completely wrong, but it just builds and it ramps up, and it peaks when I put my arms up in the air. And up we go. Now, the reason for that is, if you watch this entire video, it was about climbing this mountain. It was about me changing around my life a little bit. So it needed something big and it needed something epic. And it all came to kind of a head with this huge crescendo where the music peaked as my arms were going up. So that's not just look, it happened like that. The music was chosen and put in like that. So as you can see, there's a kind of another example of how music can really affect people. And the thing is, you can go onto somewhere like Epidemic Sound or Artlist or wherever and find your music, or even the YouTube music library, and you can kind of go through all of those tracks. If you find the right track, you're going to know it. You know, you're going to know it. And that's the thing. It has to affect you. I mean, there's a lot of videos that I've edited, and the music has been right. I've been kind of tears rolling down my face, and you know you've got it right then. Okay. So there's no hard and fast kind of when it comes to music. You have to do the donkey work. I absolutely take forever to find the right pieces of music that work. But there's general stuff like hip hop and trap, you know, that will kind of work with time lapses. If it's a bright and sunny day, you need something a little bit more upbeat. If it's sad, you need something mellow. The best piece of advice I would give is pick a bunch of movies that John Williams has scored and take a look at those and see how they work. And, you know, I'm not saying you have to spend years watching movies with soundtracks, but it's something where you learn, and the more you do it, the better that you get at it. Okay. Now, hopefully that kind of makes sense to everybody on that sense. And what I would say when it comes to editing the music, look for the beats. So let me jump back into Premiere here and give you guys a bit of a better idea of the beats, or maybe how to edit with it. So let me just pick a track. Okay, so I'm literally going to do this blind right now. I'm just going to pick a piece of audio. I'm actually going to pick the whole track, and I'm going to bring it in here. All right, and I'm just going to get a few clips, and this will give you an idea of how this should kind of work. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Where's this going? I'm going to go back to this clip here, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to take this. I'm only going to click and I'm pointing at the screen here, thinking you can see me pointing at the screen. I'm going to click on the video option only. So I'm only going to drag in the video. So if we watch what I'm doing here, I'm going to just expand this up and zoom in a little bit more so you guys get a better idea of what's happening. So we're going to... Okay, so that's the first part of this. As you can hear, it's kind of, the track is kind of just slowly but surely ramping up. So now I need to make the next cut. So I'm going to go for the next clip. Let me see, can I find something? Obviously there's a different piece of music there, but to give you guys an idea of how you're kind of editing with it, if we zoom in, we're looking here for the beat. So we can go here, and let's drag this one back slightly. So now let's take a listen. Let's see, is that the refrain? Okay, so as you can see, we're starting off. And then I would be stopping on the beat here again. So we can see the beats if we zoom in a little bit further. You can see these where they're peaking. So if we look at the first one, so we can see there's like a bass drum there. So that's where the cut needs to be. And the more you listen to the track, you kind of feel your way around. So the next clip for me would be kind of, let me see if I got anything. And this really makes no sense from a story perspective, but I'm just showing you guys the basics of editing to the music. So. And you can hear on that, there's a kind of a drop in the track. It's like a scratch. So we could go in and you could kind of spot that. And again, cut. And let's say we wanted to zoom in to this. So we're going into effects. By the way, if you don't see effect controls, you need to click on the part that you want to see effect controls for. So, and let's just position this around. So if we go back. So you can see by listening to the track, you're getting another opportunity to work with your footage. It can be a little bit gimmicky. I would say not do it all the time, but every now and again, it's kind of fun. So just to see it again. So you get the idea. So listen to the track, but edit to the beat. So to show you guys a kind of another example where this wouldn't be great, I'm just going to drag this out randomly. See? It doesn't have the same impact, does it? It's like only like half a second out, but if we go back to where we kind of were, see the difference that makes? Right? And it's the smallest thing, and I personally, for me, I always look for somebody to edit on the music. If something is missing the beat by half a second or it's somewhere out, I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. So music is a very valuable part of your story. Now, I hope everybody is following along so far. Let me jump back into the chat there. Let's see how everybody is doing. I need some 240 BPM German techno for that clip with your kids. Maybe that might work too. Thanks for this, Vic. Good to keep the spirits up in these dark times. So far, does anybody have any questions kind of around that? So that's the kind of the music side of it. I'm just going to look very briefly at audio levels. And that's kind of the next thing. And then we just blow it right open to a Q&A and shoot the breeze about whatever you want. But let me know if all of this makes sense. Just throw a yes into the chat box if this makes sense. Or if you're kind of lost or going, I don't understand what you said, please tell me. All right. And I can go back and explain it. But I guess this is the idea of how to use music and kind of a very rough, basic way of how to edit with music. And there's other ways that you can do it, and I don't want to kind of overload people because this is kind of the basics, but you can set a whole load of markers and you can get Premiere to automate stuff to music, and there's plugins you can get. But this is a very basic level, and just getting you guys to have an idea of reading the actual scene, you know. We, Brun Van, sometimes like to use the natural ending of a song and phase in at the start of the clip. Absolutely, that works too. Now, depending on how you kind of work, you can loop stuff within Premiere by pulling it apart. And if I jump back into Premiere here, you know, we can take a look at the track here, and you know, we can cut it up. We could cut here and cut there, and you can extend it that way. If you're part of the Adobe suite, and by the way, here's a good tip for anybody that's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud. Given what's going on in the world, Adobe are offering people 2 to 3 months free if you go to cancel. So if you have a Creative Cloud subscription, go to cancel. They will automatically offer you an extra couple of months for free. So it's a really admirable thing that Adobe have done. So fair play to them, as we'd say here, but keep that in mind. So if you use Adobe, the Creative Cloud, you can use Adobe Audition. And this is really advanced. I'm not going to show you now, but know that you can dump your music into Adobe Audition, and you can extend it to whatever length you want, and the Skynet robots will do all of the work, right? They will do all of the work for you. So if you say, okay, this 2-minute piece of music, I want this to be 5 minutes, you just literally go type in 5 minutes or drag the cursor to say 5 minutes, and it'll do it, and it'll join it up perfectly. So that can be done as well. Barry, when you raise your arms, the crescendo, did you choose that point and then start to edit backwards? I hope this makes sense. That's one way of doing it, Barry. Absolutely, it does make sense. I knew I was going to get there, but I kind of kept working towards that point all the time. It's not like I had the clip on the timeline. For timing, I did kind of pull it in and out every now and then, but I knew that was the crescendo, that was the peak. Okay, so that clip had to be there, but for me, I kind of generally will go left to right. Sometimes I will go from what you're suggesting backwards, but in that particular case, I would have just worked my way all the ways up to it. So I would have been editing forwards versus backwards, but I knew exactly where that needed to be. And you can do that. And the one thing that when you shoot your own footage and you edit your own footage, you'll quickly learn whether you shot enough or too little. It's always better to shoot for the edit, so you know exactly what you need to shoot, so you're not, you know, trawling through hundreds of gigabytes of footage, and then you're like, oh, what do I use? I've got too much, or I don't have the right shot. So hopefully that makes sense, what I've said. Okay, so people are following along with that. Just going to jump in here on the old audio levels, and let's talk about talking head stuff as well, okay? Because I'm not saying it's the easiest, they're not the easiest videos to do, not in the least, but talking heads is something that people can just get in straight away. And again, it's very important that the music, if you want to put music underneath a talking head video, is the right piece of music. And what I would suggest is that you have like an underscore, something that doesn't have vocals, because if you have vocals underneath you talking, it's a big audio clash. Nobody can understand when anybody is saying. The song is a distraction, and as we learned last night, if you distract your audience away from what they're supposed to be doing, i.e. concentrating and watching on your awesome content, then they're just going to go, I don't know what's going on, turn it off. So this one on Amazon is a talking head video, and there's a piece of music underneath it. All right, so let me bring this audio down here. Even though it's on a direct vocal, there is a ha 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 going on. Only a 600, 100, basically the whole kind of. Even if I bring this down more by pressing G and typing in -12, 6,000 range from Sony. Now, why would you put this on your phone? I mean, you're not going to hop a camera off. So that vocal is quite distracting. Now, arguably, most talking head videos, do they need music? Ground. Obviously not, of course, not on purpose, but not really. So while I'm saying something that doesn't have vocals in it, so let's take a look here at this. I'm just going to go I and O. Let's just put this kind of cinematic thing underneath my talking head. I'm going to press G to bring down the volume. Let's bring it down to like -20. Let's take a listen. on. It's by Kinoku, and it's for the Sony a6600, 6100, basically the whole kind of 6000 range from. So I'm going to bring up my levels. Sony. Now, why would I? That doesn't really work now, does it? No. That doesn't work at all because it's the cinematic thing that you might associate with some drama or a drone shot or something like that, but instead I'm talking about a screen protector for a camera. Yeah, see how important the music is? Anyway, let's go back into Premiere. Generally, kind of some hip-hoppy stuff may work. Hang on, let's go to the next one. Here it is. Fingers crossed. So that's way too loud. Let's bring it down. Let's go in here where there's a beat. Let's get this screen and wipe down. Let's bring this up. The ring light harshly lighting this up here. So we've got our little. It's not that distracting as a piece of music ultimately. So that kind of works. Now let's kind of talk about levels. Okay. Over here on this side, this is our level meter. You're going to have something very similar in no matter what piece of software that you have. My name is Vic Barry, and this video is the first one. And generally, rule of thumb, like a lot of broadcast radio, for example, will kind of be broadcasting speech around -9 and music around -12. So that's a good starting point. So if we take a look here, my brand new Sony, this is hitting around the -9. But let's say you recorded the audio and for whatever reason, haven't had a lot of time to mess around with the camera. It was down to like -24, -18. Yeah. So again, what we're looking to do is pressing G, and we're going to bring this up. Let's say we bring it up by 6, and now we're bringing the audio up. Or we can also just drag up the little line down here. So that's important. Speech should be around -9, and music should be at least -12. You can go into the audio section here, and you can kind of. I rarely, to be honest, I rarely go in there, but and it's for the Sony. You can adjust your levels here if you want. So let me put in some music underneath this one really quick. Basically the whole. So as we can see here on the VDUs, the music is way too range from Sony. Now, why would you put this on? Now, what's going wrong? You're like, that's kind of distorting. Why is it distorting? Well, let's dump the music out here for a start. Let's take a look. On your phone, I mean, you're not going to hop a camera off the ground. If you see red, it's not good. All right? If you see red, it's not good. So, as we're in the audio tab here, we can bring this back down. Obviously not, of course. Not on purpose, but accidents do. And there you go, right? In Adobe Premiere, you can put some processing on it. So you can go into dialogue, for example. You can use a bunch of presets like a balanced male voice, a podcast voice. What happened? And it changes the compression and it changes the audio. Alternatively as well, let me jump back here. Alternatively as well, you can go into effects, and let's say you want to throw in some treble, type in some treble. Again, you can do all of this in the other editors. This is just how you're doing it in Premiere. You can throw in a bit of treble. You audiophiles will absolutely hate what I'm going to do next. This is my beloved Sony RX100 Mark V. I've had this for the last couple of years. So as you can see, that kind of has an effect as well. So this is a bit of a crash course in working with audio. But the main thing to remember with audio and all of this thing is, if the audio you recorded sucks, it doesn't matter what you can do. If it distorts, there's processes that you can clean up the audio and repair the audio, but it's only as good as the audio that you recorded. If you're working with audio, it's only as good as what you got in the can, basically. And that's the most important thing to remember. Those of you that shoot with kind of doing talking head stuff, I would really suggest that unless you're incredibly close to the camera, then it's a real bad idea to rely on the onboard audio of a camera. Something like the iPhone, if I'm kind of talking here like this, it's possible you'll get away with it. But if the phone is like way back over there and I'm here, it sounds like it's in a toilet. Same with a lot of onboard mics and cameras. Unless you're incredibly close to the camera, you're not going to get away with it. You can try. Saramonic do a really kind of a small mic. Hang on, let me see. Can I get this? Give you guys a look. So this thing, look at the size of this. So there's a little wind muff on it, but this is a tiny mic, and this plugs in. It's just a standard mic jack that plugs into any camera, and that takes your audio level up. Even this thing is $25. This thing takes your audio up a huge level. So if I was out and about vlogging on the Sony a6600, this is plugged in. It's tiny. Little bit. I don't think it's that fragile, but even a $25 mic can make such a difference to your stuff. And of course, you'd use something like this, which is called a dead cat, a wind muff, a dead kitten, whatever you want to call it. It just filters out a lot of the wind. Obviously, if you're out in a hurricane, it's not going to do much for you, but it helps hugely. And the other tip, of course, if you are shooting and there's wind there and you don't have like a dead cat, turn your back to the wind so the wind is blowing, not into the mic, it's going the opposite direction. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So that's some of the stuff with working with audio. Hopefully it kind of makes sense. I think it does, especially with music. Keep an eye on your levels. Speed should be around -9. And it's something that I used to make the mistake of before, that we'll say intro music was always too loud. So the intro music would go boom, and then I'd come in underneath it or after the intro and I'd be like, how's it going, guys? What's going on? And the volume would be very, very low. Or I would start with a hook and I'd be like, la, 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 here's my hook for the video. And then the intro would come on and boom, would blow everybody out. Like that boom did. And that's a huge problem. That's another reason where people go, I can't stick this. My ears are bleeding. Turn this off. Click. I'm just going to watch a Peter McKinnon video. So that's something else to keep in mind. Keep an eye on your audio levels. If you see red, then it's kind of really time to change it around, because it's a problem. And again, if you're giving your audience some kind of excuse to click out or close it down, then not doing a good job. Audio is very specialist. I worked with audio when I was in commercial radio for over a decade, so I have some idea of audio. But even if you follow those basics, just those basics that you're not seeing red, and if something sounds too loud, even if it sounds in your head too loud, turn it down a little bit. It's easy enough to do. I think people will kind of will agree on that. So that's the kind of the audio side of it. Has anybody got any specific questions on the audio stuff there that I've covered, whether it's about the music, whether about something else? And I guess if people are interested, I can talk quickly before we open up a Q&A to kind of talking to camera, if that's any good, right? Because I know obviously a lot of you guys will talk to camera. If you're not talking to the camera, if you're just doing a VO, I can give a couple of hints and tips as well for that. So if people are interested in that, let me know. And also, if you've got any questions, just throw them in here. This is the Lockdown Learn. My name is Vic Barry. We're doing this, I guess, every night this week, just to help people out. Because I know people are bored, people are worried, people are sick, people are at home. They're like, I can't watch any more Netflix. My eyes are bleeding. And it's a good opportunity for people to upskill or just maybe watch me or anybody else and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe I can put that into action, because there's a lot of us, there's a lot of you guys out there right now who are facing an unprecedented amount of time at home with lockdowns and quarantines and all this kind of stuff. And who knows, maybe by the end of the year, something here could turn around and completely change your life. We Brun Van, music and talking together. No. I would be kind of inclined to agree. If it's a talking head video, you don't necessarily need music underneath it. Some people feel more comfortable for whatever reason. Some people feel, I haven't got the best voice in the world for talking. And if you feel like music can be a crutch, absolutely. But it needs to be an underscore. It needs to be something that's, not going to be intrusive. It's not going to clash. It's not going to cause confusion. If it does, take it out, end of. But I would be a big believer, somebody that works in talk radio for so long, that you don't really need music at all. But that's easy for me to say. If you want to put music in there, put it in there, but just make sure it works, right? That's the most important thing. That is not going to be a distraction. Paul, on video camcorders for ENG, etc. I've always been of the opinion that Sony don't skimp on inbuilt mics much better than their competitors. Very fair point, Paul. I have a Sony RX100 Mark V, tiny little camera, and because it was always relatively close to my face, the audio, I had no mic anyway, the audio was always really, really good. Same with the only A6600 that I have at the moment, the audio is really, really good, but I have a video going back a couple of episodes in the vlog, which kind of highlights the difference between the two, and even, again, this cheap mic, less than 30 bucks, makes a huge difference. Is there a certain genre of music you'd use for your video, or would you use anything, says Ben? So here's a good rule of thumb. Don't use anything. Don't just find a piece of music and just because it was free or just because it was the first thing you found in Epidemic Sound or somewhere else, don't just go, oh yeah, okay, this sounds great. I'm gonna put it in there. You know, let's say you're have a video about a funeral. Okay, really edge case here, bad example. But you're not going to put in some banging techno over somebody's funeral. So it's not use anything, it's take the time. If you're taking a couple of hours to shoot a video, if you're taking a couple of hours to edit a video, if you're taking a couple of hours to come up with the concept for the video, at least spend an hour trying to find the right piece of music. Don't just find anything. I would say that if you have a piece of music that's the wrong fit for your video or for the scene that it's going to be in, leave it out. Absolutely leave it out. If it's going to damage your video in some capacity, then, you know, leave it out. Absolutely leave it out. I don't know why Siri is coming on my watch. Shut up, Siri. Leave it out, Ben. You know, unless it's right. So I guess there's a couple of rules of thumb, as I said, like the hip hop stuff, trap stuff will kind of work with time lapses. Instrumental stuff more or less for the best part. If it's a montage, you might get away with some vocals. E&G, electronic news gathering, it's when news groups go outside for segment. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, fair enough. That's a very fair point. Where's a good place to get music to use without copyright issues? Okay, let me get up a link here for you guys. So what I use and what I've been using for the last couple of years, and I've tried a lot of the streaming services that you can buy music. So there's lots of them, okay, and I'll tell you the ins and outs of them. So you have stuff like Premium Beat, you have stuff like Audio Jungle, all really, really good sites. You pay per track, and I generally pay about 50 to 60 to 100 euros per track with Premium Beat. Some other stuff is very good, and then it started getting a little bit repetitive. I got a trial a couple of years ago. I got a 6-month trial for Epidemic Sound, and I never looked back. I kept just going back to them when the trial was up. I paid and kept going back and kept going back. And I find Epidemic Sound absolutely phenomenal. Let me hang on. Let me see. Can I do this on the fly here? Let's see. Bear with me. So just hang on. Right, I can't do this. I should have done right. Epidemicsound.com. Let me put a link in here for you guys so you can see it. That was just a disaster. All right. So there's a link for Epidemic Sound. Look at the state of this on screen. This is a referral link, so if you take out a trial and you convert to a paying customer, they give me a month for free, just for full disclosure. I've used Epidemic Sound forever now at this stage, and it's really good. So they have hundreds of thousands of different tracks, different genres, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's where I go. There's never been a copyright strike on the channel because of the music. There's never been an issue with it. Out of all of the other music services that are there, there has never once been an issue. So take that for what it is. But that's what I've been using. That works. Take out the trial. and see how you go. You know, I think you get 30 days for free, and then you can check out all the music and you can use it in your videos and you'll have no problems. And see, it mightn't be for you. That's the other thing. It mightn't be for you. Like, I don't want any of this music, but it's got so many different genres. It's insane. Let me just see. Can I do it here? Because I'd love to show you guys to give you a better idea. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so this might work. So now I can't use that either. Oh man, I'm really sorry for chancing this on the fly. Anyway, look, epidemicsound.com. Check out the link, right? Um, so that's kind of what I use. It is really important to get the right piece of music because as I said, it will kill your video. Really, you know. So on talking the camera, on the talking head stuff, a couple of things. That people see with their ears and they hear with their eyes. So let's say I'm kind of talking to you like right now, and I'm saying, "Hey everybody, you know, welcome to the live stream. This is great, and I'm so thankful everybody is here, and the world has gone mad, and it's the apocalypse, and blah blah blah." You're like going, "No, I'm not connecting to this guy." However, if I'm talking to you right now and energy's up a little bit and I'm talking to you, so I'm looking, eyes, see? I am hearing and seeing with my eyes and ears. I'm looking into the lens of the camera, all right? So when I'm talking to you, it's me and you having a connection. So that's step number one. Talk to the actual lens, right? Not kind of talking up there, because if I'm kind of talking up there, you're like, whoever's watching it going, is he distracted? Why is he looking up there? Don't kind of look down there and I'm looking at something else, you know, or looking over there, or just all right, doesn't work. The other thing is you're never going to get the pacing right. Some people used to always say when I was in the radio I talk too quick or I talk too slow. Even in commercial work and VOs and stuff like that I do now, it's like, it's too fast, it's too slow. You're never going to please everybody. Try and get a good solid pace that doesn't sound too forced. Now the big thing, again, constant looking at the lens when you're talking, okay? Casey Neistat wears sunglasses in all of his videos. In case you don't know, the reason he does that is because the camera that he was vlogging with had a flip out screen. It was one of the Canons. So he would be looking at this. So he'd be like talking. So the camera's up here and he's kind of talking to the camera, and then he's looking at the screen. Then he's back to the lens. He's looking at the screen, back to the lens. And it is very distracting. So when you put on the sunglasses, you don't know where his eyes are. You just assume they're looking at you, while Casey's probably looking at the screen, but it's flipped out to the side. So I can't stress that enough. The next thing when it comes to talking to people, and it's all in that sentence. You're not talking at anybody. I'm not up here in an ivory tower talking down to you peasants. So yeah, I looked away. You're like, what's going on? I'm talking to you. It's me and you. We're having a conversation. We're friends. We're hanging out. That's what it's about. So I'm talking to you, not at you. All right. That's very, very important. Look at the news. All right. Look at newsreaders. You'll quickly be able to see the ones that talk to you versus the ones that talk at you. Because the ones that talk to you make you feel involved and you've got some kind of connection, while the ones that talk at you, you're like, who are these elitist pigs? While I'm talking to somebody imaginary up there. See? So there's a couple of tips. And the other one is, while me and you may just be talking on the street, like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? But you've got to bring it up a level. So if you're talking kind of like now at a normal level, it's okay. The energy is maybe it's you, but keep in mind you're in front of people possibly for the first time on a video. You got to bring your energy level up a little bit. You got to go to what's up, everybody. You got to just bring it up a notch, all right? Because video is an extension of who you are, but you got to turn yourself up a little bit. So while I'm talking to the mic here, which you can see it here on screen, right? I'm talking to the mic here. If I really wanted to talk to the mic, I'd be like, oh no, blah, 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 which is very close. No, I'm talking to the invisible microphone that's like 3 feet away from me. That's called projecting. So that will help you get your energy up. It's not like you're shouting at the microphone, but you're actually just kind of bringing it up a little bit. And so you're talking to the invisible person that's 3 or 4 feet away. So I'm talking to everybody right now, and I know that you're way, way back there, and I'm just afraid in case you're not going to hear me. And because I'm talking that little bit louder, I'm not annoying, I hope. And the energy is kind of up as a result of that as well, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So now, there's a couple of tips for talking to camera. I think they're really important. The other one is know what you're going to say. If you have to write it down, if you're writing bullet points, know what you're going to say, right? So if anybody's got any questions, I'm going to open this up to a Q&A before we kind of wrap up our Lockdown Learn for today. Tomorrow, again, I'm completely open to guidance on what you guys would like to do tomorrow. I know some people have been talking about color grading. So I think we look at the very, very basics of color grading. Color grading and color correction. There's 2 different things between color correction and color grading. They sound advanced. They kind of are advanced, but if you don't put your feet into the water, you never get wet. So I'm very happy to talk the basics of color grading. I'm far from a color grading expert, but I can give you enough kind of hints and tips that you can get your feet wet and go, okay, my videos now look completely different. They look a little bit better. All right. So maybe we look at that tomorrow. So if anybody has got any questions, now is a really, really good time to throw them in there before we kind of wrap up and call this Lockdown Learn a night. So yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. I'm just looking at the chat, looking at the chat, looking at the chat, looking at the chat. So, basics of color grading would be great, says we Broom Von. Okay. Definitely color grading, says Dan. Perhaps you could talk about ISO and what it means and how it works. Premier Lawns is in there. Hey, buddy. You were like nearly an hour late, dude. I presume we're talking about ISO, Barry, yeah? I can talk about that right now if you want. So the ISO option in your camera, is that what you're on about? Just in case I go off for 2 minutes on this and then that's not what I asked. So throw that in there if that's what you asked. Okay, so I think we'll take a look at color grading tomorrow evening, just the kind of the basic stuff. So, whether you're shooting with a GoPro, whether you're shooting with a Red camera, whether you're shooting with a Sony a6600, a 6400, a drone, it doesn't matter. There's a couple of basics that will apply to every single camera that you use or every single piece of video that you use, and we can work on color grading, that kind of stuff. Let me know, Barry. ISO, that's on the camera, right? I can jump into that right now if you want. But yeah, so if anybody's got any other questions, and even if you want to jump out of the creative stuff, if there's anything else that's on people's minds, let's shoot the breeze, because I know people are freaking out and people are worried, and I'm gonna freaked out and worried as much as everybody else. But I'm sure we'll get through all of this. Ben, color grading would be good. All right, did a bit in college. Haven't done much with my videos since I finished college. Because why was that, Ben? You just stopped, or you wanted to, or why? I'm just kind of curious, because video and making content is a huge grind. It is a really, really, really huge grind. And when you don't get traction on a video on YouTube, that can be disheartening. You're like, I poured my heart and soul into this, and it could be the best video ever, but if you don't have the right title, the right description, if you don't kind of play the algorithm game by giving it the right title and right description and a really clickable thumbnail, then you may never get out of the traps at all. But then that comes down to the whole thing of never stop learning. If there's people out there who want to do that, kind of coming away from the basics of editing and do the basics of YouTube stuff, as in titles and descriptions and thumbnails, I'm more than happy to wax lyrical about that for you guys as well. Something that I'm still learning, but I've learned quite a bit. And it's not that hard, but if you don't know, it's like, I don't know, it's like trying to build a rocket and fly to Venus. It feels so beyond people's reach, and it's not. It really isn't. Simple changes. I'll give you guys a very quick example. I have a video there recently that did 4 to 5 times the views that a normal video would do. It's not that I jumped on a trending topic, but I changed the upload time. So the majority of my audience, if I go through the lifetime analytics of my channel, the majority of my audience are all based on the west coast of the USA. Then it's Texas, then it's the east coast. I don't cater to an Irish audience. I just happen to be a YouTube channel that's based in Ireland. I'm not really interested. I'm catering to a global audience. So I uploaded that video at 3 p.m. I went live at 3 p.m. Irish time, which would have been, I don't know, 8. I think I set it up to go 8 a.m., 9 a.m. PST, and it just took off. So simple changes like that. For most people, you've got all the data in front of you to figure out that's how to use it. So we can definitely talk about that as well. Ben, for a while I was doing daily videos, so it felt like it would take too long to color grade for them. Absolutely. Some people say you should color grade the footage first. Other people say edit the whole thing and then color grade it. For me, I'll do the grade last. If you're kind of shooting in the same setup, so if you're doing a talking head thing in a studio kind of setup or in a bedroom setup, and it never changed, you could just create a LUT for it and just throw on your own LUT or your own grade, and it's just there all the time. You just drag and drop it on. But if you're moving about, if it's out and about and stuff, it does have to be kind of a little bit more dynamic than just throwing on the LUT. Because one of the great things about so many content creators is they have so many LUTs out there. And unless you know how to use them correctly, you will never replicate the Peter McKinnon look. You can buy all Pete's LUTs, and I've bought them, but they don't work for your footage. Why? It's not because he's sold you a dodgy LUT. No, far from it. They're amazing LUTs. But unless you know to use them correctly, and you never replicate the look. So anyway, that's on the color grading thing. Let's dig into that tomorrow, because that's going to be a whole load of fun. And it's an interesting one because color sets tone. Color sets the mood. So you can very easily change the feeling a scene is giving off on a vlog or any type of video just by changing the white balance, whether it's too warm or too cold. Easy. And even if you don't come back for the color stuff, if you're going off digging around yourself, subtle, smallish little changes. But yeah, it can be a bit of time constraint to color videos, but yeah, it's a grind. It is a grind. But I think for anybody that's making YouTube content, you need to, the more you do it, the better you should get at it. Then it's a little bit of luck. It's understanding how the algorithm works, understanding click-through rates and titles and descriptions. And the big thing is how long people are watching your videos for. And then eventually you will get there. I'm 100% confident I'll get there at some stage. And if I can do it, you can do it. End of. So yeah, by the way as well, what I want to do on Friday, and some of you guys were cool enough to drop me a message or an email, vicbarryvlogs@gmail.com, last night. We're going to take some videos and we're going to review some videos live on the channel on Friday. Okay. And this isn't meant to degrade anybody. This isn't meant to kind of keep anybody down. This is meant for me to go, that's really good, but I wonder if we did this, would it make the video a little bit better? And it's about helping you guys out and kind of live, constructive criticism. There's no point me going, well, Johnny, that video's a load of crap, and just go on, well, Bob's video is a lot better than yours, Johnny. No, it's about going, well, if you did this and this and this and this, then that's going to make the video a little bit better. All right. So that's what we're going to do. If you've got a video that you'd like me to kind of take a look at, then you can email vicbarryvlogs@gmail.com. And I'm only going to take like a minute or two out of it, so I'm not going to be going through epic long 4-hour videos on a live stream. Or if you want to make it even more dynamic, you can just throw the link at me as we go live and we can get into it. Or if there's a particular kind of 2-minute part in the video or a minute part in the video where like, okay, I'm struggling in this 60-second clip, I don't know what to do, then come at me with that. So Friday will be kind of a dedicated live review of stuff. It doesn't have to be new video. It can be an old video. It can be something that's just sitting there right now that maybe you love the video or you hate the video. And we'll have a crack at seeing, a couple of hints and tips that maybe I can suggest, or maybe anybody else that's going to be here on Friday can suggest as well. Tomorrow, it's going to be a kind of the basics of color grading. We will get into that. So, yeah, unless anybody's got anything else to throw into the chat, now is the time to throw it in. Never leave dead air either, by the way. Never leave it there. Because there's always somebody going, is he gone? Has the video frozen? What's happened to the audio? Should I turn it off? So, again, guys, thank you so much for your time this evening, this afternoon, today. I hope everybody's safe. I hope your family is safe. And, you know, if you're dealing with some stuff during this unprecedented time, then rest assured you're not alone. And there is a great community here on this particular channel. I'm incredibly proud of that, and I thank everybody for coming along to the live stream. I thank everybody for dropping in the comments. Talk to each other. Absolutely talk to each other, because, you know, there's no strangers on the internet in this community. I think we're all friends. So we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for dropping by this evening. Hopefully you guys have learned something. That's the most important thing for me. If you haven't, let me know. All right. If there's something you don't understand, let me know. Just email me, vicbarryvlogs@gmail.com. I'm only too happy to go through it again. All right. So peace out, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your night. Stay safe. We will see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. EST. Is Dan still there in Texas? What time is it in Texas? My time zones are gone. 8 p.m. GMT. That's the time we're gonna get there. And yeah, again, I'm curious to know, like, is that the best time for everybody? But I think most people are kind of stuck at home, working from home or whatever. So this is a lockdown learn where we're all locked in. So I think it's probably a good time for everybody. If not, let me know. So everybody have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are, and we will see you tomorrow. By the way, if you haven't, for whatever reason, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications, the bell icon that everybody's telling people to smash that. CST in Texas. Thanks, Dan. Don't talk to me about barbecue, because I will be here for the next 15 hours talking about barbecue. And you Texans got it good. Anyway, we will see you tomorrow. And thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, I have nothing else to say, except I really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.